Now that we've covered the UNSC side of things for Halo 2, it's time to dive into the alien weapons at one's disposal, both Covenant and, to the limited degree that they're present, Forerunner. Halo 2 introduces a number of new Covenant weapons and vehicles, while bringing back several familiar ones. Once again, certain information will be repeated from previous videos on the Covenant Armory. There's only so many ways I can say the same information. We start off with the Type 25 directed energy rifle produced by the EWIS Armory. Comprised of twin plasma generators conjoined by a trigger guard, the generators alternate fire for an increased overall firing rate. The plasma rifle can trace its lineage back to the War of Beginnings, a conflict between the San Shayum and Sangheili that ended with the founding of the Covenant. The plasma rifle's design has gone largely unchanged in at least the last 500 years. The plasma produces a large amount of waste heat that builds up as the weapon is shot, and after too much sustained fire, will automatically vent. As with any plasma weapon, wounds from a plasma bolt are severe, resulting in third-degree burns, and they're capable of melting through armor. Halo 2 introduces the first true Covenant weapon variation with the Type 25 Brute plasma rifle. Produced in secret by High Charity's Sacred Promissory under the orders of the Prophet of Truth as part of his eventual plans to have the Jiralhanae take over the Covenant military. These modified plasma rifles feature modifications to rate of fire and damage that would be considered heretical without Truth's blessing. Known as the Blood Hand by the Jiralhanae, the modifications to this rifle cause it to overheat much more rapidly than its default counterpart. Following the Human Covenant War, at least 2 additional variants of this weapon were produced. The Sorrow of Tish, which improves the heat dispensation and accuracy, and the Scale of Soyrapt, said to have secrets only the most cunning Jiralhanae can unlock. Both variants are named for natural satellites of Doisak, the Jiralhanae homeworld, though neither of these weapons appear in Halo 2. Both the classic and Brute plasma rifles can be dual-wielded. The Type 25 directed energy pistol is an EWIS Armory produced semi-automatic infantry firearm. Most commonly used by smaller Covenant species like the Ungoi, Kigyar, and Yanmaya, the pistol also features a secondary firing mode called an overcharged shot. This shot can produce an EMP upon impact with a target, disabling energy shielding and electronics. The overcharged shot can also effectively be used in combination with a precision weapon to take down shielded enemies. Like other Covenant-directed energy weapons, the plasma pistol is powered by an internal battery that can be recharged from a variety of power sources. As a plasma-based weapon, the pistol builds up excess heat and will forcibly vent if too much builds up. The plasma pistol can also be dual-wielded. The Sacred Promissory's Type 33 guided munitions launcher, also known as the Needler, is a projectile weapon that fires crystalline shards of a unique compound called blamite or Subanese crystal. As the name implies, the Sangheili moon of Suban is the home to a unique, explosive crystal. The crystal can lock onto an organic heat signature and seek them out, embedding themselves into soft tissue and eventually shattering. When enough crystals have embedded themselves, they supercombine and create a powerful explosion that rips enemies to shreds. As a small correction, I previously stated that blamite ammo casings only appeared in Halo CE, but they actually make a brief appearance in the Halo 2 Vista map, Uplift. Blamite casings were also apparently modeled for Halo 2 Anniversary, but never implemented. The Needler's magazine holds 30 rounds in Halo 2, and it can be dual-wielded. The Type 51 Covenant Carbine is another EWIS Armory production, most commonly used by Sangheili and Jiralhanae, but also used by Kigyar marksmen. It fires 8.7 by 60mm caseless radioactive projectiles from an 18-round cylindrical magazine at 700 meters per second with an effective range of 600 meters. Though encountered as early as 2526 and seen on the battlefield occasionally throughout the war, the weapon wasn't properly documented by ONI until 2551, when it seemed to more prominently overshadow the T-31 needle rifle. The Covenant Carbine's design is based on marksman rifles used during the early, war-dominated history of the Sangheili. The Particle Beam Rifle, or Covenant Sniper, comes in 2 forms thanks to Halo 2 Anniversary's multiplayer. First, we have the newer of the 2 rifles, technically speaking, and the older of the 2, canonically speaking, the Type 27 Special Application Sniper Rifle, or Beam Rifle, which appears in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. Manufactured by the Merchants of Keycost, a Sangheili manufacturer based on the Sangheili moon of the same name, This rifle was documented early on and seems to have seen prominent use throughout until the final years of the Human Covenant War. Though they don't appear in Halo 2 in any fashion, there are two prominent variations of the T-27 known to exist. The first is the Sword of the Faithful, a personalized beam rifle used by the Prophet of Regret's Major Domo, and notably featuring enhanced accuracy and heat dispensation. The second is Krith's Left Hand, a beam rifle once used by the Kig-Yar pirate prince, Krith. This beam rifle, which fires a 3-round burst, was reclaimed by Ripa Morimi sometime before he was dubbed Arbiter. Though seen on a few occasions early in the war, the Type 50 sniper rifle system, or particle beam rifle, wasn't documented until 2550 when it started seeing more favorable use. Manufactured by the assembly forges, the T-50 fires accelerated ionized hydrogen particles just like the T-27 and operates via a rechargeable battery. It can fire lethal particles at 3,657 meters per second at a range of more than 1,500 meters. Although not seen in Halo 2 in any capacity, the particle beam rifle has two known variants of its own. The T-50 Alpha was used by Kig-Yar snipers assigned to the Fleet of Particular Justice, notably during the Battle of Installation 04, and features increased accuracy and rate of fire. The T-50 Delta was used by an elite team employed by the Prophet of Truth during the Great Schism, primarily tasked with taking out the Hierarch's political enemies. This variation of the beam rifle created an unstable gravimetric vortex at the point of impact. Beam rifles only started seeing more widespread use during the Covenant War when human snipers demonstrated how accurate, pinpoint fire could throw entire armies into disarray. Generally speaking, the Covenant doesn't make much of a distinction between the various patterns of rifle, not in the way that Oni often does, grouping them based more on core components and intended use. Whatever the pattern, beam rifles are noted for their minimal recoil and noise when fired. They have telescopic sights capable of up to 10 times optical zoom, though some UNSC personnel have noted feeling nauseous when using them. The Type 25 grenade launcher, aka the Brute Shot, also known as the Death Lobber by Gerald Hanai, is a sacred Promissory produced weapon used exclusively by the Gerald Hanai, the design more in line with their sensibilities rather than what is typically considered Covenant. There are two primary variations of the Brute Shot, the Type 25 and the Type 25B, the former appearing in Halo 2 and the latter appearing in Halo 3. We'll talk more about the Type 25B in a future video. The Type 25 Brute Shot is the standard model used for much of the Gerald Hanai's time with the Covenant before the Great Schism. This version holds 4 belt-fed Type 25 exotic high-explosive anti-personnel grenades at a time. These particular grenades are primed on impact, allowing them to ricochet off angled surfaces. The grenades are effective but crude, incapable of destroying a vehicle on impact, but more than capable of knocking it over. It's been noted that these grenades could be more effective if properly shaped and fused. The Type 33 light anti-armor weapon once again returns, this time as a usable weapon in the campaign and multiplayer. Produced by High Charity's assembly forges, the fuel rod gun fires Class 2 38mm radioactive explosive fuel rods from a 5-round clip. The fuel rods are made from a similar substance to the incendiary gel used by Megalogolo or Hunter assault cannons. The look and design, and to a lesser degree the function, has varied quite a bit throughout the Human Covenant War. Early on, fuel rod guns would self-destruct if an operator was killed in combat, though in 2552 it was more and more common to find fuel rod guns without this failsafe. Like the fuel rod gun, the Type 1 energy weapon/sword first becomes usable in Halo 2. Mass-produced by the assembly forges, the energy sword is a traditional Sangheili close-quarters weapon. The weapon's design is an evolution of older martial weapons like the curve blade. By the early days of the Covenant, the burn blade was a prominent melee weapon for Sangheili, metal blades heated to a red-hot glow. Eventually, the energy sword was developed and overtook the burn blade. From the hilt, superheated plasma is contained by 2 magnetic fields into the shape of a twin blade. The plasma is easily capable of cutting through flesh, shields, and metal, though each use will drain the battery that maintains the blade. Some swords have a failsafe system that destroys the blade when the wielder is killed, but not all, this being the canon basis for the energy sword becoming usable in Halo 2. The energy sword is restricted to use by aristocrats in civilian life, but sees more widespread use in the Covenant military, with even Sangheili miners being allowed to use them on occasion. Swords can come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and colors, which is to say that all forms of energy swords seen in each game are canon variations. Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer features a blood red variation known as the Blood Blade. This version is commonly used by members of the Silent Shadow, a Sangheili Special Operations group. Halo 2 introduces the Type 42 directed energy support weapon as a gameplay counter to the M247 machine gun. This Class 1 plasma turret fires bolts of superheated plasma at an average rate of 600 rounds per minute indefinitely thanks to its internal plasma generator. In the centuries prior to the Human Covenant War, these generators were considered borderline heretical, said to encroach too closely on Forerunner divine perfection. The turret can easily be set up and collapsed by even Ungoi and is often operated by Ungoi heavy units. The Type 27 anti-infantry stationary gun is an Assembly Forges built variation of the Shade turret. In contrast to its Type 29 variant from Halo CE, this one features energy shielding to protect the gunner from forward fire while leaving the gunning position much more exposed from any other angle. This, however, makes the gun more mobile than other variants of the gun. Once again, we have the Type 1 anti-personnel grenade, aka the plasma grenade, manufactured by the Iru Armory. The grenade's casing is made of smart matter programmed to identify infantry and enemy vehicle targets. When primed, coolant is vented while the internal plasma generator activates. As coolant vents, the grenade heats up, allowing it to stick to targets by burning into the surface of a target. Soon after sticking, the plasma generator destabilizes and the grenade explodes. We now get into some weaponry that appears in Halo 2 but is not usable by the player in one manner or another, starting with the antimatter charge. Not much is known about this bomb other than it uses antimatter to destroy its target. Bombs of the size seen in Halo 2 are capable of destroying an orbital defense platform, and even something as large as a CAS-class assault carrier. The Energy Stave, or Energy Pike, is a ceremonial weapon wielded by Sangheili, and later Jiralhanae, honor guards. The version seen in Halo 2 is generally not wielded in combat, though combat-ready versions do exist. The final weapon we'll look at today is the Type 2 Gravity Hammer wielded by Tartarus, known as the Fist of Rukt. Originally, it was a traditional Jiralhanae warhammer wielded by many chieftains throughout the species' history. Eventually, it fell into the hands of a chieftain named Rukt during an event known as the First Immolation, a nuclear war that blasted the Jiralhanae species back to the Stone Age. The weapon eventually fell into the hands of the chieftain Maccabeus, who was in turn killed by his nephew Tartarus. In Tartarus' hands, the weapon would be upgraded into the first Gravity Hammer. It would serve as a symbol of Tartarus' authority within the Covenant, as dictated by the Prophet of Truth. Unlike later Gravity Hammers, the Fist of Rukt is capable of generating energy shields, manipulating objects with gravitational vortices, and shockwaves. That wraps up the weapons that appear and can largely be used in Halo 2 and Halo 2 Anniversary on the Covenant side of things. Next, we dive into the vehicles, plus something I wish I had done back with Halo Reach's Armory video, weapon emplacements. As usual, we start with the Type 32 Rapid Attack Vehicle, or Ghost, produced by the Iru Armory. While a few models exist, Halo 2 introduces a model with a perpetual boost function, powered by a boosted gravity propulsion drive. Seen piloted by Sangheili, Ungoi, and Jiralhanae, the Ghost's nano-laminate hull plating is a strong and capable material, but its exposed cockpit leaves the driver and engine wide open to attack. This is thought to be an intentional design by the Sangheili in an effort to display their fearlessness. Ghosts are comprised of two main components: the fuselage, which holds the main mechanical components and hardware, and the seating and guidance section. The two sections are connected by a ball joint to aid the pilot in driving the vehicle. The Ghost, like most Covenant vehicles, can smart link to a user's HUD. Traditionally, the Ghost is armed with twin Class 2 energy cannons, though in the expanded universe and media, it can be equipped with a heavy fuel rod gun as well. The Type 46 Infantry Support Vehicle, referred to by humanity as the Spectre, is an Assembly Forges produced anti-infantry and transport vehicle. Powered by a standard Covenant-boosted gravity propulsion drive, the Spectre is piloted by a single driver and sports a gunner position for its Type 46 directed energy weapon mounted gun, a Class 1 directed energy cannon. It also allows for two passengers to ride along. The Spectre is capable of speeds of up to 119 km per hour or 74 miles per hour. Essentially a Covenant counterpart to the Warthog, the Spectre was first recorded by the UNSC during the Battle of Sargasso in 2546. It never saw significant use during the war and was largely supplanted by the Type 48 Revenant. Fun fact, the Spectre was originally slated to appear in Halo CE, then called the Shadow. The silhouette was fairly similar, though the gun was modeled after the T-49 Shade and sported a driver and passenger seat side by side. The Assembly Forge's Type 26 Assault Gun Carriage, or Wraith, is the main Covenant armored infantry support/assault vehicle for ground engagements. The Wraith is traditionally equipped with a Type 26 directed energy mortar, which fires a massive arcing bolt of plasma, and twin medium plasma cannons, though these are not always present. Powered by a boosted gravity propulsion drive, the Wraith is able to achieve a top speed of 82 km per hour or 51 miles per hour and features a limited boostability. The driver is protected by nearly 2 feet of polymer plating on most sides, save for the hatch. Like most Covenant vehicles, the Wraith floats just above the ground, allowing it to easily traverse a wide variety of terrain with relative ease. Its plasma mortar can melt through titanium plating, concrete, and flesh, and just being near a mortar shot can be devastating, resulting in severe burns and heat trauma for nearby infantry. The Type 29 Troop/Vehicle Transport, aka the Shade, is a Covenant vehicle produced by High Charity's Assembly Forges. As the name implies, it can transport light vehicles or infantry to and from the battlefield. Though relatively slow, with a top speed of 106 km per hour or 66 miles per hour, the vehicle is heavily armored and further protected by a gunner operating a Type 29 anti-infantry weapon emplacement mounted plasma cannon. Though a configuration exists that can carry up to 8 passengers, the Shadow is only seen carrying ghosts in Halo 2's campaign. Our final ground vehicle is the Type 47A Protoss Ultra Heavy Assault Platform, aka the Scarab. A Tier 4 excavator originally designed for digging up Forerunner artifacts, Scarabs are easily adapted to combat thanks to their variety of weapons. The T-47A Protoss features a face-mounted focus cannon, aka the Scarab Beam, and 2 heavy plasma repeaters on its back. Unlike most Covenant vehicles, the Scarab moves with 4 leg assemblies and is driven by a large colony of Legolo worms, the same creatures that make up Hunters. These Legolo are rarely given full control over the platform, however, and a crew is usually present to pilot and direct the platform. Because of this, the Covenant classify the Scarab as a ultra-heavy infantry unit when in combat. The Scarab's cockpit can be protected by an energy barrier if needed. Though first seen as early as 2527, the Scarab wasn't formally documented until 2547. Due to a quirk of UNSC administration, 2 Scarab chassis were designated the Type 47, the Protoss of Halo 2 and the Deuteros primarily seen in Halo 3 among other places. We'll talk more about that in a future video. Starting off the Covenant air vehicles is the Assembly Forges produced Type 26 Ground Support Aircraft, aka the Banshee. Its boosted gravity propulsion drive powers the vehicle's propulsion with 2 jets at the rear of the Banshee and a gravity pod at the tip of each wing. With this configuration, the Banshee can achieve speeds of 100 km per hour or 62 miles per hour and perform a number of complex aerial maneuvers, colloquially referred to as Banshee tricks. It can also boost its speed at the cost of maneuverability, which creates the ethereal howl for which the Banshee is named. Banshees are typically equipped with 2 Class 2 DEML-AW plasma bolt diffused cannons and a Class 3 HAAW/M heavy fuel rod cannon. The fuel rod cannon is often referred to as the Banshee Bomb. While already lethal, a female weapon master named Sanjik managed to further improve them, increasing their rate of fire. Whether this upgrade was made to Banshees beyond a select number during the Harvest campaign is unknown. The Banshee comes in a number of configurations even in classic Halo 2. In the campaign you'll encounter the Type 26A Banshee with a narrower canopy and rounded wing pods. This is an older model of Banshee that saw prominent use until its stock began to deplete in 2550. A second variation of the Banshee is seen in Halo 2, the Type 26AZ, aka the Heretic Banshee. The T-26AZ is used by artifact hunter teams, such as the one led by Sessa Refumi, who was deployed to the Threshold gas mine prior to the Battle of Installation 04. After learning of the falsehoods of the Great Journey, Sessa's forces removed the Covenant-manufactured cowlings from their Banshees, revealing the underlying Forerunner mechanisms and redesigning them to sport the colors of Sanghelios. A second model of Banshee can be found in H2A multiplayer, the Type 26B. A more advanced model, the Type 26B began seeing service when the Type 26A's stock began running low in 2550. Notably, the T-26B has a fully enclosed cockpit, providing more protection for the pilot and allowing it to operate in space. Finally, we have the Type 26BZ, an ordained model believed to have been the chosen model for Loka Bandoli, a Sangheli artifact hunter who served under Sessa Refumi. This model can be spawned into Halo 2 Anniversary's Forge mode. The Type 52 Troop Carrier is an Assembly Forges produced dropship designated the Phantom by humanity and the successor to the earlier Type 44 model. The T-52 Phantom can come in at least a couple configurations, the variation in Halo 2 armed with 3 heavy plasma cannons to lay down suppressive fire while troops are deployed from the ship's ventral gravity lift. The ship can also be boarded via this lift or from a rear side entry. Though much more vulnerable than the T-52 Spirit that preceded it, the Phantom is much more maneuverable thanks to its twin impulse drives. Operated by a pilot, co-pilot, navigator, and operations officer, the Phantom can carry up to 30 troops, depending on personnel size, into battle while also carrying a pair of light vehicles or one heavy vehicle. The Type 28 Intrusion Vehicle, also known as the Type 28 Boarding Craft or simply the TIC, is a Covenant boarding craft produced by the Assembly Forges. 3 prongs latch onto the hull of a target, and a boarding tube is deployed. It can simply use an existing entryway if one exists, or it can melt through a weak spot like glass. The point of penetration is superheated to avoid structural damage, while also creating a seal to avoid explosive decompression. Our last aircraft is the Type 31 Exo-Atmospheric Multi-Role Fighter, aka the Seraph, produced by the Assembly Forges. The variation seen in Halo 2 is a Kal-pattern Seraph. Similar in many regards to its Morsam pattern cousin, the main difference between the Morsam and Kal-pattern Seraphs is armament. The Kai Seraph features 4 Tavos Mu pattern heavy plasma cannons and 2 Novox pattern fuel rod cannons. Like the Morsam, the Kai features energy shields. Often deployed into talons of 8 or more strike craft that then split into hunting pairs, Seraphs are piloted by either Sangheli or Jirohane, though both species have different approaches to their task. A Seraph pilot is connected directly to the craft via a neural interface, their body immobilized to avoid self-injury, and in exchange for superior control, the pilot is subjected to significant pain. Sangheli pilots meditate before deployment to control the pain, while Jirohane embrace it as it often triggers their focus. Further separating the species are their views on the Seraph itself, with Sangheli seeing the craft as little more than a tool, while Jirohane guard their craft, giving them secret names, carving into the hulls to immobilize kills and battle scars. These differences would lead to human pilots fearing brute talons much more than Sangheli ones. Now we come to something I wish I had started covering back with the Halo Reach Armory videos: weapon platforms. We start today with Halo 2's Type 48 artillery platform, aka the Weevil. This large artillery cannon can fire a massive and devastating plasma mortar that arcs through the air much like a Wraith's mortar. Sadly, we never see them in action in Halo 2, only in the Halo 2 E3 2003 demo, where the weapon appears to be much larger than the final game. And that wraps up Covenant vehicles and weapon platforms, but we have one more weapon to discuss that doesn't fall under UNSC or Covenant purview: the Sentinel Beam. The Sentinel Beam is a Forerunner directed energy weapon typically used by aggressor-class Sentinels. Though not intended for handheld use, when an aggressor is destroyed, its particle beam can be used if found to be intact. Firing a stream of superheated negatively charged ions, the Sentinel Beam is designed to effectively destroy flood biomatter and contain minor flood outbreaks. The Sentinel Beam comes in 2 varieties in Halo 2, the default yellow-orange beam used by Silver Sentinels, and a hotter, more powerful blue beam used by Gold Sentinels. The blue beam has a cost for its greater power as it overheats and depletes its battery much faster. And that covers the Covenant and Forerunner armories for Halo 2 and Halo 2 Anniversary. Damn, was this a lot bigger than I realized it would have, though the Covenant side of Halo 2 gets far more fleshed out than I originally realized. Though the UNSC had a lot of new additions with Halo 2 Anniversary, the Covenant side had a lot of material, period. Just wow. That's all for now though. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you really love me, hit that notification bell and leave a thumbs up. These both really help out the channel. I wouldn't be where I am now without your views and support, so once again, thank you. Keep on being awesome, Canonites.